Yes, hi, and good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm Eli Reches. I'm the Crown Visiting Professor in Israel Studies and head of the Israel Innovation Project IIP. On a lighter note, I always like to quote a good colleague of mine, an Arab Palestinian author named Anton Shamas. Maybe the name will ring a bell to some of you, who, uh, who used to open his lectures by saying, before I begin to speak, I want to say a few words. So I'll use that as an opener. And I ask you to allow me to start with a few notes, thank you notes. So first and foremost to our speaker, Yair Bar-Haim, whom I'll introduce shortly. And next to the Department of Psychology, the chair, the faculty, the staff, who graciously agreed to host Yair this quarter and offer him a teaching position. My thanks also go to the Dean's office, to the Weinberg Dean's office, which played an instrumental role in making this possible administratively. And last, but certainly not least, to the IIP team, led by our outstanding program coordinator, Crystal Falcaro Hips, who is now continuing doing her mission by taking photo. Crystal, this is Crystal, guys. Let's give her a hand. Thank you. So, a word about IIP, if I may, the Israel Innovation Project, which sponsors Yair's visit to Northwestern. It was founded 5 years ago with the mission, clear mission, a focused mission to advance Northwestern's technological and scientific partnerships with Israeli institutions of higher learning, universities, through collaborative research, global educational initiative, innovative business ventures, and public engagement. Our role is to foster long-lasting relationships that expand opportunities for faculty, researchers, students, and partners to collaborate with counterparts, academic counterparts in Israel. We focus primarily on STEM field, science, technology, engineering, medicine, and we interpret Israel studies in a broader sense, expanding beyond the traditional boundaries of history, politics, and conflict. We have intentionally, I should say, stayed away from the controversial and contentious debates that have polarized our campus and other campuses in the last 2 or 3 years. Instead, we organize cross-school teaching initiatives, symposia, colloquia, conferences on topics such as water technology. Actually, water is our flagship. Material sciences. We have David Zeidman with us, who is the founder of this trend long before IIP was established. Neurobiology, quantum physics, and renewable energy. So Yair's visit to Northwestern is actually part of IIP's effort and mission. So it's now time to introduce the speaker. Dr. Yair Bar-Haim is a professor of psychology and neuroscience at Tel Aviv University. He is also the director of, I believe, the newly established Israel National Center for Traumatic Stress and Resilience. He earned his PhD at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, and in 2000, he joined the faculty of Tel Aviv University. Over the course of his career, Bar-Haim has held visiting scholar appointments in numerous places at the US National Institute of Health, University of Oxford, and additional academic centers. Now, his research, of which he will speak today, focuses on the neurocognitive, I hope I pronounce it correctly, this is not my field, neurocognitive mechanisms underlying anxiety or disorders and post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. The central aim of his studies is translating basic science into effective, evidence-based treatments and prevention programs. He has developed groundbreaking intervention protocols for children and adults in collaboration with the U.S. National Institute of Mental Health, the U.S. Department of Defense. Now I need to change this, the U.S. Department of War, and the IDF. The IDF still maintains its name. Now, these protocols, more seriously, are now implemented in clinical and research setting worldwide. He has published extensively, nearly 300 articles, and has over 30,000 citations. At NU, he teaches a class on PTSD at the psychology department, and is already engaged in a new research project with a Northwestern collaborator from psychology department, Professor Ken Paller, I don't know if he's here, or, on how to improve treatment of PTSD. So the title of Yair's presentation this afternoon is Trauma Prevention and Recovery, Israel's Experience with War-Related PTSD. A definitely timely topic from an Israeli point of view, definitely so, once the hostages are back, but also from the American society point of view. So without further ado, Yair, it gives me great pleasure to have you be here and give the talk. Yair Bar-Haim.
Thank you, Eli, for the kind words. And yeah, I think I'll jump right into it. My general plan is to show you rather briefly three elements that we have developed over the years that are relevant to prevention, secondary prevention, and also treatment of post-traumatic stress disorder and other conditions, related conditions. Okay, we can just start immediately. I think generally in life, pressure can lead to either breakdown or to innovation and adaptation. And this is true for probably any field of life. And in Israel, there are quite a lot of pressures. Some of them are not in my realm of work, but I can tell you that Israel is a desert, basically a desert climate, very little water. That's a serious pressure. What happened over the years, and I think Eli is an expert on this, is that desalination of seawater and irrigation led to innovations in these fields and then adaptation. In many respects, there is no shortage of water these days in Israel. Israel is fine, even exports water, I think, to Jordan. But this is also true in other fields, in fields of security. So Israel is almost constantly shelled with rockets and missiles. This is a map of sirens in Israel over 1 year. It's quite extensive. And this led to adaptation in the form of a air missile defense system. That's not my area. This is maybe engineering. But it leads to adaptation in the form that people first are less affected by the missiles, and some sort of a normal life can be carried on in Israel. But now to my field. One of the biggest pressures that Israel needs to deal with, but this is not unique to Israel, it's also around the globe, is PTSD. Responses to trauma. Trauma is a common thing. Israel has more war-related trauma, but There are traumas everywhere. This led to extensive research in Israel and application that leads to adaptation and resilience. So I will talk about 3 programs. I'll talk about 2 for sure, and if time allows, I'll talk about the 3rd one. Neuroscience guided intervention for acute stress reaction. I'll explain what it is in a second. Primary prevention of PTSD in combat-bound soldiers. And finally, if time allows, targeted neuromodulation of trauma memories is something that we work on very hard these days. These programs have wide dissemination within Israel, but also at least one of them very wide dissemination within the US Army. So I'll start with that, but let me start maybe with talking about what trauma is. Many people use the term trauma to relate to everyday incident, but not every thing that we call trauma is actually a trauma in a professional sense. So to be considered trauma in a professional psychiatric manner, one needs to be exposed to actual threat of death or serious injury or sexual violence. And these are real things. And PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, is the only disorder that has a requirement for something to happen in reality. All other disorders, depression, anxiety, there's no need for an actual cause. There are many causes, but they're considered without an event in reality that triggered them. In PTSD, there is this requirement. So people have traumatic divorces, traumatic relationships, traumatic, people may lose their job, and it could feel very traumatic. And it is traumatic indeed, but it's a different type of traumatic, okay? And the common symptoms of exposure to this kind of trauma, the threat to life kind of trauma, there are 4 clusters of symptoms. One major one is intrusion. Memories of the trauma come into consciousness without trying to recollect them. The event comes as intrusive memories, flashbacks, and sometimes also nightmares. During sleep, the trauma replays. And the quality of these experiences is that people feel as if they are happening here and now, as if the trauma is recurring. So that's one set of symptoms that is very frightening symptoms. Then hyperarousal. People with who are exposed to traumatic events many times are very tense. They are vigilant, and they have hyperarousal in general, faster heart rate, etc. Then comes a cluster of avoidance. These 2 early descriptions, people who experience intrusion and also feel very aroused, usually try to avoid these feelings almost at all costs. Now, this avoidance can be either in thought, so not thinking about the trauma, and that usually doesn't work. And the other approach is to avoid anything that any people or places or activities that can remind you of the trauma. So people end up finding themselves enclosed in their own room, not getting out of the house, yeah? And this disrupts functionality in many terms. And finally, negative thoughts and cognitions about the self, others, and the world. The world is not safe, no one can be trusted. I'm not worthy. And to have PTSD, people have to have all 4 types of symptoms. So it's a pretty serious condition. It's hard for the person and hard for the environment, the close social environment. And but the thing is that immediately after a traumatic event, most people respond with these symptoms. And gradually they reside over minutes, hours, days, they reduce. But for some people, they don't reduce, and then you get the chronic state. Okay, so if we look at trauma from a timeline perspective, there's the trauma, and then we divided it usually into these 3 epochs. The immediate hours, days after the trauma, 2-3 days, weeks, and then posterity, moving forward. Acute stress reaction is what sometimes we get in the immediate aftermath, immediately, minutes, seconds, hours after the trauma. It occurs in soldiers, in battlefield. In the battlefield, it occurs in about 15% of soldiers. So it's not rare, but it's not common. It's something, but 15% is quite a lot. I'll discuss the reaction later. If it continues beyond 2-3 days, we're already talking about acute stress disorder. Okay, this is something that we can consider treating at this point. And if it goes on beyond several weeks, it will become chronic PTSD. So we treat chronic PTSD. We can try to prevent PTSD from occurring by treating acute stress disorder. We can also apply secondary prevention to help people, if you like, snap out of acute stress reaction. And we can talk about primary prevention. Now, this is very tricky, but I will talk to you about it. It's trying to prevent, in a way of inoculation, if you like, to prevent or reduce the risk for PTSD even before the trauma occurred. And so I'll show you the combat attention application. That's the second thing I'll talk about. I'll show you iCover or MAGEN. This is a program for acute stress reaction that we've developed. This is a big question mark whether we should treat or not. To treat or not to treat, this is a big dilemma. I'm not going to talk about it today. Because if the natural course of the symptoms is to reduce, maybe it's better to let it happen on its own rather than starting serious psychological treatment. But there's a debate there. Of course, that we want to improve extant first-line treatments via research. But if time allows, I will talk about targeted hippocampal transcranial magnetic stimulation for trauma memories. Okay? So that's the plan. Let's jump right into it. What happens in traumatic situations is that, well, let's talk first about non-traumatic situations. All the time, there is some sort of balance between our assessment of the environment as threatening, and control over these thoughts, okay? So if I'm grabbing the mic and I'm threatening you that I will throw the mic at you, you are quite sure I will never do that, right? But still your threat monitoring system is now alive. Yes, do you feel it? Even though you're absolutely sure that I'm not going to do it, but I could, yeah, could. So you already are getting those signals. And these signals are interpreted by the amygdala. You see that little red formation over there? But the amygdala is constantly regulated by the frontal cortex. It's all these other colors up here in the front here. So the amygdala says, oh, watch out, there's a threat here from this unpredictable professor. But your frontal cortex is saying, oh, but is probably more regulated than my amygdala thinks, so maybe I can, maybe I don't need to run away. Maybe I'll sit lower, maybe, okay? But there's always this discussion or crosstalk between these parts. And what happens in a traumatic, acute traumatic situation is that the amygdala, this little red area here, hijacks the brain, and this leads to a collapse of functioning because everything is really threatening and people freeze. Okay? And this is what we see in the battlefield. So we were faced with the question of, can we create a simple enough system that allows soldiers to treat their comrades or help their comrades get out of this freeze condition. It's dangerous to freeze in the battlefield. It's dangerous to the person, but it's also dangerous to the platoon. And this was the question. How can we apply our knowledge and understanding of the neuroscience that's behind these systems to a simple functioning method? So yes, so we developed Magen for the IDF. Magen means shield. And then one of the persons I worked with in the IDF to develop this and also advised him on his PhD, he told me he wants to, that he's not going to go on to academic life. And therefore, what do I suggest to him? So I told him, why don't you go on a postdoc? He says, but I'm not going to academic life. So I told him, listen, a postdoc is not just academic life. It's a chance for you and your family, had 2 children, to get out of Israel a little bit, stay in an interesting environment, do things that you don't usually do. And then after 1 year, you can go back to whatever it is you want to do. And I hooked him up with a close colleague of mine at the Walter Reed Institute of Army Research Institute, Walter Reed, you know that name probably. And what they did during his postdoc at Walter Reed was to translate the Israeli Magen program to a program for the US Army. And the US Army, after this development, adopted this and rolled it out widely. It is part of the regular basic training program. So every American soldier is getting it. Now, do you want to see it? Do you want to see how it looks like? So there's this clip here. It's about 10 minutes. I will let you see all of it. But I warn you, it shows combat, okay? So there are sounds and you see a little bit of blood. So beware, don't worry, it's just a clip. But I think it gives you all the idea about how our neuroscience knowledge can be translated into something effective in the battlefield. So how do I start it? That's my question. How do I depress anything? Oh, I know how to start. Here.
Clear right. All clear. Stack on me. Lopez, door. Stairwell front. Keep moving. Move. Go.
Get up! What the hell's wrong with you? Sergeant! Come back here! Police, they're right here. You hit it! You hit it!
Stress. For the combat soldier, stress is a constant companion. Stress can occur at varying levels of intensity. The more stress you have, the more your body needs to be activated. Under conditions of significant threat, your body prioritizes responding to the threat and directs your resources to engage that threat. The more we get activated, the more we experience the signs of stress. These include a queasy stomach, dry mouth, racing heart rate, sweating, and feeling shaky. As we progress through the yellow, orange, and red phases of activation, our signs of stress intensify. This activation is critical for optimal performance. In combat, stress occurs in a physically and mentally taxing context. Sudden loud noises, disturbing images, bad smells, extreme temperatures, lack of sleep, prolonged and repeated waiting, uncertainty, and throughout, there is a constant threat. In this context, there may be times when a service member gets activation overload. When this happens, they shut down. This is called acute stress reaction. Instead of decisive and productive performance, their responses become uncontrolled, unfocused, and dysfunctional. So what can be done to get your battle buddy back into action? Understanding what happens to someone's brain during an acute stress reaction provides clues about how you can get them back into action. Normally, during an intensely stressful situation like combat, your body goes into fight or flight mode, allowing you to make quick, effective decisions to ensure your survival. In order to think fast, the areas of your brain responsible for deliberate thinking, your prefrontal cortex, move out of the way. This thinking area takes a back seat, and other parts of the brain take the lead, the parts reserved for our survival instincts and core emotions. However, sometimes the activation levels get severe and result in an acute stress reaction. The brain is essentially hijacked by the emotion part of the brain called the amygdala. When the amygdala is in control and no input from the logical, thinking brain, the person becomes extremely emotional, fearful, and dysfunctional, possibly putting the unit in danger. Your job is to help your buddy's thinking part of their brain take back control from the amygdala. Trying to shake or shout the person out of an amygdala hijacking doesn't work because the person is already overloaded. Shaking or shouting just overloads them more. On the flip side, engagement with gentle words or talking about their emotional state won't help them either, since focusing on emotions doesn't prompt the thinking part of the brain to reassert control. The key is to get the thinking part of the brain back into action.
Folding! Folding! Hold on! Medic! 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 Come in that window! McGurk, get up! What the hell's wrong with you? Sergeant! We're back here! Police, they're right I don't know what's wrong with him. He just froze up. McGurk!
T-Rex 4! T-Rex 4! Contact! Rooftop to the north!
What the hell you doing on the floor? McGurk, if you're hit, tell me.
Lopez, what's going on?
How the hell should I know? He ain't bleeding. Stay in there with me, man. McGurk, step out of it.
I got this. Cover that window. McGurk! McGurk, can you hear me? Look at me. Hey, I'm right here. Look at me. I'm squeezing your shoulder. Squeeze my back. Good. Good. McGurk, I'm right here with you. All right, I'm not going anywhere. You're not alone. Okay, now listen to me. What platoon are you in? Hey, what platoon are you in?
First.
Who are you in here with?
Garrison. In Capaldi.
Who's your commander?
Captain West.
Lopez, cease fire! Copy that. McGurk, stay with me. Here's the situation. We were in the building, and we took incoming. Taking care of the injured right now. We need to cover these windows. Copy? All right. Grab your weapon, get up, and cover. Come on, let's go. Lopez, you keep an eye on him.
Being a battle buddy means having their six. So getting your battle buddy back into action after an acute stress reaction requires 6 steps. These steps take less than a minute and are designed to stop the amygdala hijack and get your battle buddy back in control. First, identify that your battle buddy is having an acute stress reaction. Second, connect to them and get them to focus their attention on you. Third, offer commitment so you can break through their detachment. Fourth, verify facts by asking for simple details. This gets them focused on the present moment. Fifth, establish order of events in order to orient them. And finally, request action so they are focused on the next immediate step. When you use eye cover, move swiftly through each step. Avoid emotional or calming language, keeping your voice clear and confident. Review the engagement again with these steps in mind. First, identify the problem. The key sign is the person is not functioning. They may be frozen, disoriented, or agitated, but the common denominator is that they have functionally collapsed. Second, connect. You might find the soldier facing downward or covering their face. This position increases feelings of helplessness. So when you try to connect, be sure to touch, then speak. A 3-prong approach is best. Touch, speak, and make eye contact. Seek response.
McGurk! McGurk, can you hear me? Look at me. Hey, I'm right here. Look at me. I'm squeezing your shoulder. Squeeze my back. Good. Good.
Third, offer commitment, so they know they're not alone and that you are there with them.
McGurk, I'm right here with you. All right, I'm not going anywhere. You're not alone.
Fourth, verify facts, asking 2 to 3 short, fact-based questions. Don't ask about their feelings or anything complicated. Your goal is to get them to focus on the present moment.
Now listen to me. What platoon are you in? Hey, what platoon are you in?
First.
Who are you in here with?
Garrison. In Capaldi.
Who's your commander?
Captain West.
Fifth, establish the order of events. Basically, the goal of this step is to help get them oriented to the situation. Confirm the chronology of events in 3 simple sentences. What happened, what is happening, and what will happen.
All right, here's the situation. We were in the building and we took oncoming. All right? Taking care of the injured right now. We need to cover these windows. Copy?
And sixth, request action. Give a specific mission-related task that can be immediately accomplished. This will help them get back in gear.
Grab your weapon, get up, and cover. Come on, let's go. Lopez, keep an eye on him.
iCover works because it cuts through the amygdala hijacking and gets the prefrontal cortex back into action. Remember to move swiftly through each step and keep your voice clear and confident. 1. Identify. 2. Connect. 3. Offer commitment. 4. Verify facts. 5. Establish order of events. 6. Request action. With iCover, you've got their 6.
All right. So now you are officially, you have the training. It's, at least in Israel, but also I know in other places, it has been adopted for civilian situations as well, both for first responders who sometimes find themselves in these situations, but also in situations where you need to connect with someone who is not communicating or is detached for some reason. So here you get one example, yes, of something that is based on science and that has large applicability in a broad range of situations, especially military types, okay? So now I want to talk about primary prevention of PTSD in combat-bound soldiers. How can we try to reduce the risk of PTSD before the trauma had occurred? Now, to apply something like that to the general populations doesn't make much sense. About 70% of people will experience a traumatic event in their lifetime. That's a large number. About 70%. But only about 4 to 6% will end up developing PTSD. So the numbers don't really add up, right, for kind of an intervention before the trauma had even occurred. But think about this other situation here of combat deploying soldiers. For them, 95% will be exposed and 10 to 23% will develop post-traumatic stress disorder. So now these are different numbers and they can offer an opportunity to think about prevention if you had something useful, yeah? So I remind you about this system, but a very important aspect of this system is attention. Why? Because we are bombarded with stimulation. And not all stimuli can get the same amount of resources for processing. So there's a bottleneck there. There's some information that's more important than other sets of information. And what determines what will get additional processing resources is what we pay attention to. Okay? So imagine that I'm talking to you and I could pay attention to any one of you, right? So Ellie here is falling asleep. This is not encouraging me to look at it because it gives me bad feedback. So, yeah. So I look at someone who is paying more attention and is nodding and giving me good feedback. So I'm there, yeah? But what happens is that my attentional system determines what will be prioritized, okay? So there are many different ways to measure attention, but here is one way. We show participants a fixation cross, and we ask them to fixate their gaze on this cross here. Then we show them two stimuli. One, you see she's angry, threat, one neutral. And then we show them this arrowhead that points either left or right. And the participant, the person who we are measuring attention from, needs only to indicate whether the arrowhead is pointing left or right. But if my attention was here on the threat face, and the arrowhead appeared in the same location as the threat face, my response will be fast, yeah? But imagine I put the arrowhead up there, and your attention was here. You would have to disengage your attention from here and move it up here, and that takes a few milliseconds more, okay? And I know how to measure your response time relative to the faces. So now, over many trials, I can now calculate what is your response time, mean response time to angry location versus neutral location. If your attention is spread equally between the threat and the neutral, the number, if I subtract one from the other, the number will be 0. If you are faster responding to the location of threat, it means you paid more attention to it, you'll have a positive number. If it's a negative number, it means that you are paying more attention to the neutral, or you are avoiding threat. Yes? All good? It's simple. Now, we had this idea that we should look at the attentional patterns of deploying soldiers, okay? To figure out whether we can do something about it. And we got, this is data from 1,200 soldiers. It's a large number. And we saw them 3 times. Immediately after enrollment in the IDF, before deployment, and during deployment. Now look at their attention pattern. In the early stages, not much of a bias, okay? Pretty close to 0, yeah? But when they are deployed, when they are in a dangerous situation, what they do? They attend to threats, you see? Now this is adaptive, right? This is what you're supposed to do. Now, at this time point, we know from many studies we have done in the past that about 5 to 6% of the deploying soldiers in regular times in Israel develop PTSD. So we went backward. We asked, what is the attention pattern of those who developed PTSD? And we got this interesting situation. They are avoiding threats before deployment, and even worse, they are avoiding threats in theater. Now, this is something that we replicated several times and also has been replicated with American soldiers in Afghanistan. So we know that this is the situation, okay? So this really presents an opportunity for intervention before deployment, before exposure to combat. And what do we want to do? We want to try to push this back here, right? So they start paying attention to minor threats and to threats in their environment. So how do we do this? Yeah, we want to push attention to the threat phase, yeah? We thought a very simplistic kind of thinking. If we put all the targets in the threat phase location, gradually what happens is that people learn their job is to say whether the arrow points left or right, right? But they get an association between threat phase location and the place where they're supposed to perform their task. So they pay more attention to this face because it's a cue where the arrowhead will appear. So slowly but surely, we can push their attention toward threat. And when we measure what happens when we use MRI in a lot of our studies to figure out whether we already also not change just the behavior, but also the neural substrates that support it. And yes, the answer is yes. We see changes in the relevant brain structures. So now the question is, how do you go about studying this? You're supposed to train people, and then what? Wait? How long? So it's a problem for scientists. It's not a problem for, okay. So you see this figure has years here, and it has this trend of increase here. Yeah. And I was looking at this figure. This figure is the number of rockets fired on Israel from Gaza. Now, you see that it's increasing and that there are peaks, yes? And every time that this flares up, and you saw it on the news also, yes? Every time there's a flare in rocket fire, there's also a ground operation usually that follows. And this ground operation means that soldiers will be exposed to traumas in an extensive manner. So we thought, okay, we will train people. I'll give you two studies. These are two large-scale studies supported by the Department of War. Yes, of the US, to figure out whether our intervention, which is 4 training sessions of about 7 minutes each, delivered during basic training, can thwart the trajectory of PTSD in soldiers, in combat-bound soldiers. So I'll show you the first study. We train people during basic training and then wait, yes? Sit down and wait. But in our region, you wait, you just sit down and wait, and then something bad happens, yeah? So indeed, 14 months after we trained them, a serious peak happened. And 4 months later, we clinically interviewed all these soldiers. About 900. It's a full brigade, a full infantry brigade. So large numbers to find out what's going on. And we had 4 conditions. I'll talk about them, but let's start with the important ones. In the red, you see the treatment as usual in the IDF at that time, which means nothing, okay? Soldiers who got no training at all got 7.8% PTSD following these 50 days of combat. The group that was trained 4 times with our program, remember, pushing their attention toward threat using this very simple task, 2.6%. But the important thing is this number needed to treat, NNT. If we treat 19 soldiers, we save 1. So not that great. The best number is 1, yes? Everyone we treat, but even the best vaccinations that we have for hepatitis C or something, they are not 1, yes? They are 1 point something, 2 sometimes. For us, it doesn't seem great, but for a large-scale intervention, when you are talking about tens of thousands of soldiers, or hundreds of thousands of soldiers in the case of the US military, then it becomes very effective, okay? In this study, we also had another arm with 8 sessions. We thought 8 sessions is better, but turns out it's an overdose, yeah? So what happened is, following this, the IDF decided to roll this out. And I was bummed with it because I wasn't sure these results are strong enough to actually warrant this rollout. But the IDF didn't care much for that and rolled it out. And I was afraid that I will not have a second chance to verify that it's really there. But turns out that rolling out such a program takes time. And it's not so easy to roll it out in 1 minute. And we had a chance for a second round of testing, now in a different brigade. So again, you see the design is similar. You do it and then wait. And again, war happened. And the results in this case, a complete replication. You see here? This is a new intervention that we thought is even better, turned out not to be so good. So this is now great, and it has been rolled out to all combat-bound soldiers in the IDF. But then in the last war, because we were caught by surprise, and because there were many bad things that happened in this war. Mental health maybe being 5th or 6th or 7th place in order of importance. But because all the soldiers were already out of their bases, and because there was a massive surge of reservists coming in to fight, it couldn't be delivered in the way the IDF planned on delivering it, which is in basic training classrooms in the stations of computers. So this was very alarming. So it took us 5 days of 24 hours a day to develop an app that could be delivered through smartphone. So there was a team of 8 people the IDF put on this, and I worked with them to make it happen. And that's just showing a correlation. I'll skip that. It's called Combat Attention, has been deployed widely to all the recruited soldiers and reservists, and rolled out to the forces. Now, this was done without research, yeah? Was done without research, without science behind it. I mean, there was all the science we've done in the past, but we didn't collect data. But I can show you one thing. These are the numbers now for Israel. My center, the National Center, is monitoring PTSD in combat deployed soldiers. Currently, we are at almost 11%. That's a big number. For us, it's a huge number. But the numbers in US Army and US Marines in Iraq, with slightly less friction than we had in this last war, are at around 18 and 20. So there may be many causes why this is lower, of course. But if our training program accounts for 0.5%, I've done my job, yes? So, yeah, okay. So how much time do we have, if at all? How much time? No, I don't need. 15. Oh, so we'll go to the next one? Yeah. Okay, because we could stop here, yeah? But let's go to the next one. So this now is about treatment, okay? There are many very good treatments. First-line treatments for PTSD were developed here in the United States. Cognitive behavior therapy that is trauma-focused. The two leading programs are cognitive processing therapy and prolonged exposure. Prolonged exposure was developed here by Edna Foa. She's Israeli, but she did all her work here. And the other one is also a very good one, very effective. But there's an issue with these treatments. There's a problem. For veterans, they are less effective than for non-veterans. There are many reasons for that. And the other problem is here I'm showing you data from the specialized clinic of the IDF to treat PTSD over 10 years. So these are about almost 3,000 patients, yes? You remember the 4 symptom types that I talked about? Here you have 3 of them. Re-experiencing an intrusion of the trauma memory is the one that is least affected by these treatments. Effective in only 15% of the cases. So this is not good, yes? It's a problem. And if we look at specific symptoms, flashbacks, for instance, are not affected at all by these treatments. Here were the arrows. So let's talk about memory, because really these symptoms are symptoms of memory, right? Memory of the trauma intruding, yes? Memories are made out of 4 components. Every memory, your good ones and your bad ones, okay? And your neutral ones. What happened? Where did it happen? When did it happen? And the emotional tone that comes with it, yeah? So your first day in school, what happened? You went to school, I don't know. You know where it happened, you know when it happened, and you remember what was your emotional feelings. You were excited, you were terrified, maybe both. Same here. You know what happened, where it happened, when it happened, and now the emotion you decide. And that's true for every memory, including these types of memories. Yeah? What happened, where it happened, when it happened, and the emotional tone. And just mundane memories. Yeah? Or me with my friend, I don't know where this, Oxford, I think. Now, the major protagonist in terms of brain processing for memories is the hippocampus. You heard about it? But interestingly, the hippocampal formation, okay, which is these other areas here around the hippocampus, surrounding the hippocampus, they provide the information about what, where, when, and emotion separately, okay? They come in through separate channels. So the emotion comes from the amygdala. You remember we already discussed it. But the location comes from this yellow area, a Nobel Prize in medicine about finding this out. Time and content, okay? And this all feeds into the hippocampus. They come separately, but they are tightly knotted into a single entity, which is your memory. When you remember something, you remember everything together. Yes? Am I right? Yes, so you have this experience, you know it. You know all the components together. What I think is happening, me and my colleagues, is that there may be a dissociation between the what and the emotion and the where and the when. When these are dissociated, you get a flashback. You get a flashback of the trauma as if this is happening now. Okay, so with this thought in mind, I want to show you one more thing about neuroscience. It's very, just for you to know. This is a cross-section, a coronal section of the hippocampus. We know from animal studies, but also from human studies, that this area, CA1 here, you see it? This is where sewing of all the 4 elements happens. What, when, where, and the emotional tone are, imagine a sewing machine putting them strongly together. This happens in that particular point, which is 2 by 2 millimeters in the brain. Yeah? So we thought, oh, and I'll give you one more fact about memories. So the memory happens here, yeah? Many people think that memories is like something that you put in the box and it remains in the same state all the time. But memories evolve over time, right? Every time we remember something, it's open for updating. So for me, for instance, the older I get, the better I was. Yeah? But every memory we have, it can open, okay? It becomes labile to change when it comes to our consciousness. And then it could be reconsolidated back without a change or with change. Yeah, and we do it all the time. Yeah, so now we get to the point. We thought, what about if we bring back the memory, the trauma memory, and use TMS, which is a way of pulses, electromagnetic pulses, to inhibit CA1. So you recall the trauma memory, then we inhibit CA1. Perhaps the sewing can be better, updated, and then we will be able to reduce intrusions, flashbacks, and intrusive traumatic memory. So how do we do? We're not erasing memories. We're just trying to update them. I know, you know, there's this Man in Black. You have the neutralizer, yeah? We were shooting for that, but then it's too difficult, yeah? Okay. Now we face the problem. The hippocampus is too deep in the brain to be stimulated directly from the skull. Now that's a problem. So we could insert an electrode, but this is maybe one bridge too far, yeah? So we were looking for an area in the cortex near the skull that we can affect that is strongly connected to CA1 in the hippocampus. So we took a very large data set of 1,000 MRI scans and identified this area as the most strongly connected to CA1. We then repeated this in our own scanner because we wanted to be sure that we are onto the correct area. Okay? So then we created this area here where we can stimulate But if we stimulate here, it is strongly connected to here, which is our target. It is our target in the hippocampus. You get this? Yeah, good. So here is the design. We do a clinical interview. We make sure that the person has PTSD. And we make sure that he or she has intrusions, flashbacks, and intrusive memories in pretty high quantities. Our patients, they have intrusions almost every day for the past 8 to 10 years. Okay? So large numbers. Then we send them to the MRI, and we localize their particular spot, which is most strongly connected to the target in the hippocampus. So it's individualized. Each person is a little different, yeah? Then we bring up the trauma memory through an audio beat that we record for them. Then we stimulate for 15 minutes, inhibiting the CA1 area. We do it for 5 weeks, once a week. And then we do MRI again and clinical evaluation, and we collect a diary of their intrusions because we want to see what happens to the intrusions. Yeah? So I'll show you data from our first 10 patients. The reason to do this, before we go to a trial that has a control group with sham stimulation, is to see that we are not causing damage. We want to make sure that we are not enhancing the intrusions, for instance. It's very new, yeah? So this was recently published, maybe last week, I think, in brain stimulation. These are the spots for each individual patient that we treated, okay? That is most strongly connected to their hippocampal target. First, our stimulation indeed inhibited the activity in the hippocampus based on MRI scans in 9 out of 10 patients. So it's quite effective. And relative to every other spot in the brain, it's not inhibited, okay? So it's inhibited only specifically where we are working. Now, the clinical effect is much more interesting. We got very strong effects on general PTSD symptoms, both in clinician-rated and self-reported measures. Very strong decline in symptoms. General symptoms, all the types of symptoms. But also specifically for intrusions, very strong decline. Now remember, these are patients who suffered from this for several years very badly. Now, you can see each of the patients, and you can see their mean, okay, their average. Here too, you can see each and every patient. So this patient did not improve according to the clinician. But all others did. And in self-reports, everyone improved. Okay? Now, this could either be a huge placebo, okay? Or it could be something real, which I think it is. So we are now into a randomized controlled trial, yes, with a control sham target, if you like. Okay, I want to conclude. Traumatic stress has been in the forefront of Israel's society, pressure on Israeli society still is from its inception. This pressure, I think, led to some innovations, These innovations come out of necessity, out of real need to overcome. And some of these innovations are adopted large scale in Israel, but also around the globe. And then I want to leave you with a final thought from myself, okay? About PTSD prevention. I've seen too much PTSD, okay? Way too much than any one of you wants to imagine it. And I've heard patients in our clinic, in our center, over the years, but in the past 2 years, I heard in excess of 2,000 traumas. So my final thought is this. The best prevention of PTSD is if you have an option not to go to war, don't go. Any option, exhaust any option you have. But then if you are faced with this reality, and this happens also not just in war, right? There are car accidents, there are armed robberies, there are rapes. It's something that humans create all the time. And then sometimes not non-humans. You can have a tsunami, you can have a landslide, you can have all kinds of traumas. So it is a really important field to work on, and that relates to many people. And it affects not only them, but also their families and their children. So yeah, I'll stop here. Thank you to the funding agencies and to Northwestern and the Israel Innovation Project that gave me this chance to see you and meet you. This is my lab, the people that work with me and did all the good work. Thank you.
If I may. Thank you, Yair, for the elaborate. As a student of history, I must confess that not in every slide I followed you, but maybe over time I'll manage to get it. But my question relates to the very last slide that you said, where you indicated that the PTSD issue exists within the state of Israel since its inception. And the first thought that came through my mind is Holocaust survivors. And where do they come into the picture? Because you focused on wartime, etc. So, I mean, we have been struggling. We've been living with this. What? Okay, so do they constitute a segment in your study?
Absolutely. This is a fascinating question. Clearly, the first generation of Holocaust survivors experienced very serious traumas, and many of them suffered PTSD. Then there was this story about second generation. Have you heard about it? So second generation. The evidence for second generation trauma is not strong. There's this idea of transmission of trauma. It doesn't really work. Why? If your parent is anxious and is dealing with a mental disorder, this affects the children for sure. But usually it does not produce PTSD. It would produce anxiety, it can produce depression, it can produce eating disorders, it can produce many things, but usually never produces post-traumatic stress disorder. And also, the second generation turns out to be very resilient. And now they even invented the idea of third generation, which I think doesn't work at all. Yes. Yeah. So I don't know if I answer your question. Yeah.
You had sample size, first question of 10, but I saw your p-values. I don't remember my statistics, but maybe you could comment on how robust your results are. And secondly, what is the next step, and do you see this treatment being widely available?
Yeah. So first, this is the proof of concept study with the size of 10. The results are extremely robust. 9 out of 10 patients. This is very robust, but it's without a control. So we need a very strong and stringent control condition. We are now funded by the European Union to run a large-scale randomized control trial for this. We are about 2/3 into that trial. So that's to give you a ballpark of where we're standing. If I am convinced by the end of the randomized control trial that it is effective, then we will start giving these treatments, particularly to people who have resistant intrusive symptoms. Yeah. Answers?
Okay, one over here.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. There is, so the methodology used is these, I believe, eye tracking and sort of like this attention bias. Did you correlate or explore anything with self-reported biographies or linguistic cues?
No, we have not. And we didn't collect this type of data either. But I always felt that in parallel to me almost dying doing this study with 1,000 soldiers, Google is doing the same study on my same subjects and collecting all their inputs on Facebook or whatever. So it is definitely a viable option. We didn't follow it. Yeah.
Do you have their profile for the social media?
No.
I think there's one over on that end.
There's one here too.
I know.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Jenna. I'm an undergrad here. I had a question when you were talking about employing the pre-deployment treatment. You'd mentioned MRIs showing results in structural changes to the brain. And I was curious if you could share a little bit more about what you found and if this leads to any other thoughts on potential preventative treatments.
So you want to know about the neural correlates of this treatment. So we've conducted several studies on this. And I think the type of answer you want may be too specific for this crowd, but we do see areas that connect the prefrontal cortex with limbic structures going under reduction in connectivity and activation. So we think that what we do allows paying more attention to threats, and therefore when the person, if someone's not paying attention to threat and a trauma occurs, then not enough resources are available to actually process what happened. And I think our program pushes the neural systems that are necessary for doing this attentional allocation to allow better processing. So it's less surprising. They are more vigilant to threat, they're less surprising. Now, I would never do that, for instance, under normal circumstances, because then if you push people's system to be overly attentive, you get anxiety. Yeah.
Sorry, we have here, and then we'll go to the middle. It's on. It's on.
It's an impressive talk that you gave today. I have one question, or two questions really, two comments. You compared data from the IDF 2024 under Bush 2, Bush the Younger. That's quite old in Iraq.
Yeah, yeah.
More recent data is in Afghanistan, Biden, and the Afghanistan war. And connected to that is, you probably know all this, John Spencer at West Point, he collects, he's the chair of the Department of Urban Warfare, and maybe he collects data on this too, I don't know, but it's worth a shot.
Yeah. The numbers, I'll answer that. The numbers vary with the intensity of fighting. Okay? More PTSD cases, the more intense the fighting. And I think the most intense fighting that US troops had was in Iraq, in Fallujah. And later on in Afghanistan, it was less intensive. And nowadays, yeah. So there are some special ops groups that I worked with, supported US, that employ our methods. Yeah. So Delta Force, and also some other. Yeah.
Thank you for a very compelling, cogent presentation. I'm tempted to ask you a lot of very technical questions, but we'll avoid the temptation and go down a slightly different path. And looking at this a little more holistically, obviously and understandably, your presentation was focused more on the clinical side. But if you take a step back and look at your work in the broader context of Israeli society, maybe you could speak very briefly to the issue of how well integrated you feel your work is with the goals and the priorities of the government and the schools and so forth. For example, obviously in the schools, or not so much the schools, well, yeah, the schools, but even more so universities where you're dealing with a lot of military age personnel. You know, our professors and pedagogues well schooled in how to identify some of the symptoms and how to respond or report it. So just in general, how happy are you with the way that your work and your ideas are being integrated into Israeli society writ large?
You know, my happiness is not a good index. I'm usually not very happy with with the progress, but I will tell you that the stakeholders are the Israeli people. There is no family without a son or a daughter serving mandatory service. And there's no family that is not dealing with rocket fire on their house. Yeah. So for me, the real stakeholders are the citizens. And they don't have time for I don't know how you call it. I don't know if I can say the name here, but you know, they have a strong bullshit detector. And they demand responses. And that trickles, I think, into people in decision-making roles within the IDF for sure, but also within the government. So they are pretty attentive, both for personal reasons, I think, and also for a very strong pressure coming from the bottom. So I think generally it's not very common that a scientist, I'm a scientist, I signed up for that, ends up creating programs that are so widely disseminated. So I'm happy about this, but I'm almost never happy about the efficacy of these programs and the clarity of the science behind them. So I don't know.
Hi, I'm not sure how to frame the question because my father was drafted, my son volunteered, there's reservists. So when you take let's say the intensity of a war, but then the personal individual of how he got to be a soldier, does that have implications to the PTSD?
Well, I think first there are fundamental differences, I think, between the US and Israel. In Israel, a service is mandatory. So pretty much assigned to your job and you have to do it. Now, you can't make anyone be a first year infantry soldier or a commander, but it's different than the professional way people choose their careers here in the US. So I think your question relates to the idea that someone grew up in a certain environment, maybe their parents were military people and they kind of selected this as a career path. In Israel, usually you have to serve 3 years and you go where they tell you to go. Yeah. But I do think that the way you come into things and the way you go into combat affects the outcomes. But there is one thing I must confess, is that, I'm a psychologist and neuroscientist. I look for reasons or the factors that lead one person to develop PTSD and the other not to develop PTSD. But I have to admit that the situation itself, the trauma itself, carries most of the load. So sometimes you can be a very resilient person, but you face something that you can't handle. Okay? And this can happen. So I don't know if it answers your questions. Maybe a little bit.
Okay, I was going to ask something actually related to your last point there. What can we learn from soldiers that were in similar combat experiences but somehow didn't develop PTSD? Are you identifying anything that might be able to transfer over to help those that do develop PTSD, or is it just unexplainable individual differences?
Yeah, so there are some risk factors and protective factors that we know about. Intelligence, for instance. If you are more intelligent, then you're more protected. If you have good social support, you're doing better. But the real answer to your question is that no one is really in the same combat situation. Even though they may be, going into this building, you saw in the film, one of them was going in and getting shot at. The other was in the stairwell, not seeing this. Okay, and they were in the same building, let alone in the same area, So the combat is never the same for everyone. Yeah.
I just had one question. I'd like some, clarification. It seemed clear on the slide, but when you mention MRI, you're talking about functional MRI.
We do both functional and structural MRI.
So just a run-of-the-mill regular MRI, are you seeing structural changes in the brain?
Very little. Mainly functional.
Okay, thank you.
That's it?
Just a couple more questions and then. No.
I can't talk.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So I want to ask you a question about soldiers after they're released from combat. Like, they talk a lot about when you go through an event, like keep you in the army instead of sending you home. And I was a soldier and everything, and after October 7th, it was maybe like 2 weeks after, they brought a social worker to come talk to my team. And she said, there's two things that are going to protect you after going through what you went through. She said, having a purpose and having unity, like a belonging, like a team. And my question for you is how do you prevent the soldiers they're actually kind of all right when they're still in the army in their team, but when they go home, it's the kids who get injured and they go home and they're alone. Those are the kids who suffer. So how do you prevent that?
So that's a huge point. It's true. We see it all the time in our data and also in daily life. The cohesiveness of the group while still in the military is a very strong protective factor. And we follow groups of soldiers over time, and we see that after the release from service, the numbers of PTSD go up, double. And it is related to social support. Now, I can say that it's my fault that you were not allowed to go home immediately after the event, because it was my recommendation to keep the soldiers at least 72 hours on base afterwards. So I'm not very popular with the soldiers, but I don't care. So yeah, this was my direct recommendation. Okay.
I think last
One more.
question.
They want to go?
Chemical medication to treatment other than psychological.
Yeah, so the short answer is that there are no medications that are effective for PTSD. We can treat some of the symptoms, depression, for instance, and anxiety and sleep problems with medication, but the core symptoms of PTSD do not have a pharmaceutical response. Yeah. Thank you.